Today I want to share with you guys 7 gadgets that I use daily as a graphic designer. Hello, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kinsey. I am the brand and web designer behind Kinsey Green Design, and if you're not, welcome back. This was a requested video from one of my subscribers, and I thought it was a really great idea because I've never really shared the gadgets and devices that I use as a designer, so let's jump right into this. First, I want to start off by talking about my main bread and butter, which is my MacBook Pro. I believe it's a 2019 MacBook Pro. I'm not totally sure about that. I don't quite remember, but probably the best investment that I have ever made in terms of devices that I use as a designer. When I started my design business while I was going to college, I actually had an iMac, and eventually it got so slow that it would take me 10 minutes to export something really basic from Photoshop. Like, it just wasn't even usable anymore. I also used to have a wireless mouse and a wireless keyboard because obviously it doesn't have a keyboard built in. And I would literally not be able to turn on my computer so many times because the keyboard and mouse would disconnect, and then I couldn't turn it on because the keyboard wasn't connected directly to the iMac because everything was wireless. So I really love having this MacBook Pro that has a keyboard built into it in case I can't get things to connect via Bluetooth. And I do also have a USB to connect my keyboard or mouse if I need to. It's also extremely fast. It has so much power, and that's one of the most important things for me as a designer because I run all of these different programs like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, Lightroom. Sometimes I'm running Adobe Premiere Pro, and my MacBook Pro is able to keep up with all of those programs unlike my iMac was. So if you're thinking about getting a new computer, trying to discover which one is best, highly recommend MacBook Pro. I will never ever switch to anything else after my experience with it. Next, I want to chat about my Apple mouse. Now, this might seem like something really simple, but I used to have a different Apple mouse that was battery operated. This one is not. This one is charged by a little USB cord that goes right there, and it has an on and off switch on the bottom. Now, the reason I love this mouse so much is because, like I was saying before, when I used to have an iMac, I used to have that battery operated mouse that was wireless, and it would die all the time. It would die all the time. It would disconnect from the computer, and then I'd have to have batteries, and this is so much easier and more efficient to just quickly charge and plug in when it starts to get low. Okay, the third gadget that I would like to talk about is my wireless keyboard. So I did state that my MacBook Pro obviously has a built-in keyboard, but it gets worn down really fast, especially if you use that keyboard almost daily, which I do. So that's why I have my wireless keyboard here. This also charges right here and has an on and off switch. This is kind of like an alternative to using the keyboard on my laptop, and it's a little bit bigger and more spread out. So sometimes it can be a bit more comfortable to use than trying to always type directly on my laptop. Now for the smaller, more important things like this little adapter. So the MacBook Pro only has I believe 4 little teeny tiny places where you can plug in this cord. So obviously if you have things like this, you have to get an adapter, which is what this is. This comes in handy because there are so many things that I want to or need to plug into my MacBook Pro that without this I just could not do it. And then we have my backup drive called Lacey. That's its name. I use this probably every few months. I should probably use it more, but I try to periodically get on my laptop and upload things to Lacey here, just in case anything were to ever happen with my computer or it crashed or I lost my files I had been working on. I store them on here. I recommend everybody have a backup drive, even if you're not a designer. And of course, I have to include my iPhone. My iPhone is the thing that pretty much allows me to record all of my TikToks, check my Instagram post to my Instagram feed, get on Facebook daily. It is essential for me because it is like my main device that I use to jump on social media throughout my day. And lastly, this video would not be complete without my alarm clock. I have had this alarm clock since I started going to college years ago, and it has never ever let me down. So This is probably one of the cheapest alarm clocks ever. It was from like Five and Below. It has a snooze button and then some like buttons for the settings on the back. This thing is like my go-to when I have a client call and I need to remember. I'll set my alarm. If I'm taking a nap and I need to wake up by a certain time, I'll set this alarm. If I need to wake up in the morning by a certain time, I use this alarm. I don't ever use my phone alarm. I just use this thing. It's super simple. And if I have a client call coming up during the day or I need something done by a certain time, I'll just set this guy on my desk and I can glance over to it while I'm working to make sure that I'm not getting behind schedule and staying on time with things. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and learned a little bit about the devices I use on the daily as a designer. If you have any questions about the devices I shared, please do let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.